Hi, I'm Larry Richardson and welcome to Zeniers.com Cooking. On this show we're going to make traditional Mexican Pico de Gallo salsa. Our basic Pico de Gallo recipe uses 3 tomatoes, the tomatoes of your choice. These were the vine-ripened tomatoes. It takes 1 bunch of cilantro. Now make sure when you buy this that you buy cilantro. I've left the store on one too many occasions to get home with parsley, which isn't quite the same. You have to have cilantro for Pico de Gallo. Next you use a red onion, or you can use a Vidalia onion, or even a yellow onion. I think the red or the Vidalia onion add the best taste. You'll need 1 lime, garlic, and a jalapeno. Now the jalapeno is completely optional. Some people like it hot. I'm one of them. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do to make Pico de Gallo is to prepare the tomatoes. Now what we do is we slice into the tomatoes and then we make it into smaller slices. Now a key thing that has to be done with the tomatoes is that the seeds have to be cleaned out. You do not want seedy Pico de Gallo. So we just clean those out and set them aside. Just take a moment. There we go. Once we have the first half of a tomato cleaned out, I'll show you, you just slice it into small pieces. There we go. Okay. Now you can slice it into smaller pieces than this if you want. I tend to like a kind of chunky Pico de Gallo. So what we're going to do is take all the rest of the tomato and slice it up just like that. Okay, so there we go. There's our tomatoes all chopped up and cleaned. We did remove the seeds and the fleshy part. And now we're ready to move on to the onion. Now we do have this red onion we're going to use. So the first thing we need to do is cut the top off to open up the onion. Set that aside. Clean this paper off. Okay, let's get all that. And I believe we'll use about a half, maybe 2/3 of this onion. We'll see how far we get. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do is score the top of the onion, cut into it. We're going to go in one direction first. And you can see the thickness of that. I'd say that's about probably 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick, and then we do it in the other way. So we make a nice cross hatch on the top of the onion. And I'm probably cutting down into the onion 1 inch to 2 inches. And once we have that scored, we just go like this. We just cut it down, and we end up with the onion segments. There we go. There's a stack of chopped onion. Now we're going to add that right in with the tomato. And this will tell me if I have enough onion too. Let's see. It's probably, our mix should be about 2/3 tomato to 1/3 onion. So I'm stirring this in. And let's see, I think I want to add just a little bit more onion, so we will end up using 2/3 of this onion. Okay, and now let's just add this in. There we go, and now let's give that a good stir. That's a nice ratio. That'll make a very tasty Pico de Gallo. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, and the next thing that we want to do is take our lime, and we're going to chop that in half, and then use our juicer and add the lime right to the Pico de Gallo mix. So here we go. There we go. The lime is in there. And I'm going to do the other half. I like it a little bit on the limey side. Again, if you don't like yours as tart as this, just add half the lime, taste it, and then see if you want to add the second half. Now let me give that a stir. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is prepare the cilantro. Now I have already rinsed off the cilantro, and this is really a matter of taking the cilantro leaves and just picking them off. I don't like a lot of stem in my Pico de Gallo, so I'm a little bit more careful at picking these leaves. But if you don't mind the stem, you can pretty much chop the tops off of each of these, kind of line it up and chop the tops off, and then just work the stems into it as you chop the cilantro into finer pieces. So it's going to take me a moment to finish doing this. And the cilantro has now been officially stripped. So now it's time to take the cilantro and just chop it up. Make it into smaller pieces that will mix easily into the Pico de Gallo. There's probably more economical ways to chop this up, but this is the best way I know how to do it. And I really don't like using food processors. I like to have this hands-on experience, and it gives me a little bit more control over the actual texture. Okay, that looks about right to me. So I'm going to take the cilantro and put it in with our tomatoes and onions and lime. And let's stir that in. That looks right. We have very good consistency there. So next thing I'll do is add some salt. It's about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So just give it a quick drizzle, and then you can check it after and decide if it needs more salt or not. But one thing I really love about this recipe, as opposed to commercial salsas, is you can completely control the amount of salt that goes into this. So if you are sensitive to sodium, this is a great way to have a tasty snack without all the unnecessary salt. Now for some people, this would do it. You just made a complete Pico de Gallo. If you like it hot, you'll want to add the jalapeno, and then if you like it really spicy, you'll also want to add some garlic. So we'll do that next. To chop the jalapeno, I always put on a glove. This is mainly because I do have contact lenses, and if I don't wear the glove and I touch my eye, I will be in pain for the rest of the day and probably for most of tomorrow. So what I'm doing right now is cleaning out the jalapeno. Most of the heat is actually in this white fleshy part, not in the seeds. So if you don't like it really, really hot, make sure to remove as much of the white part as you can. So there we go. Now the jalapeno, I'm going to cut into thin slices, because you really don't want this super chunky unless you're a heat demon. So we'll give that a nice cut. And then we'll take these segments and we'll cut them lengthwise into very small pieces. Now if you're not sure how much heat you like, you can add just half of the jalapeno chopped up and see if it's to your taste. And then if you decide you really want to go full bore, you can add the other half. There's one rule of spices and hot vegetables is you can add a little bit in the beginning to make sure that it's to taste, but it's very hard to add a ton of this and then decide you don't like it and try to pick these pieces out. It would probably take you forever. So always be a little bit on the conservative side when you're adding spices and hot vegetables. And as you can see, I'm not being conservative at all with the jalapeno because I do like it very hot. So there we go, that's all chopped up. And we'll add that to our mix. Ooh, I'm starting to drool. We're getting very close to completion. So we'll stir in those jalapenos. Oh boy, that's going to be hot. I might be eating this bowl alone. Wow, isn't that starting to look good? Yum! Imagine a snack that you can eat almost to no end, and it's no fat and just a little bit of salt. So I'm going to set this aside now, and we're going to add the garlic. So I'll peel the garlic first. I think I'm only going to add half of this. This is not an Italian dish. I just want the garlic to add a little bit of flavoring to it. And I'll use my handy dandy garlic mincer. If you don't have one of these, get it. It's the easiest way to add garlic to recipes. Just press it down, swipe the garlic off into your dish, open this up, take the paper pieces out, and repeat as necessary. It's just amazing to me how this works, that the paper doesn't come through and end up in your dish. Just the garlic does. So again, I'm only adding about 3 cloves. I don't think that this is a dish that calls for a ton of garlic, like most of the dishes that I make, especially Italian cooking. And there we go. So you can see it's just a little bit of garlic, and we'll get this all stirred in. Now that is a pico de gallo. That is fresh vegetables that is healthy for you, and as we like to say, it's delicious, it's nutritious, and it's easy to make. There's no reason why you have to make or have to use commercial salsas. Not when you can make this. There you go, pico de gallo. So there you have it, pico de gallo. There probably isn't an easier, more healthy snack food that you can possibly make. Not only that, but it's extremely versatile. It tastes good on chicken, it tastes good on beef, it tastes good on fish. You can add this to tacos, to enchiladas, you name it, it tastes good on it. So we will explore that a little bit more in the future on Xeniors.com Cooking. In the meantime, stop by Xeniors.com and be sure to pick up the recipe for this and give it a try. And then come back to the site and let me know what you think. I look forward to seeing you again on Xeniors.com. I'm Larry Richardson.